I know you traveled on Air Force One, and Rod Rosenstein was on board. You had apparently a 45-minute conversation with him. I think you were going down to Orlando for the police chiefs conference. Apparently, a number of Republican congressmen had wanted to have him on Capitol Hill today. They wanted him to be under oath, and he was reluctant to do that, reportedly. He would have preferred an informal meeting with perhaps just one or two members, not a whole hearing. But apparently, we just had Greg Jarrett on, and he said that he probably didn't want to show up because he didn't want to be under oath. The rumor is the day after the midterms, you're going to fire him and you're going to fire the attorney general.
Well, I actually get along well with Rod. We have a witch hunt going on, which is disgraceful. And I have to tell you, I'll take these Republican guys with Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan and Gates and Gibbs and all of them. I hate to mention a few names because there's so many of them, and I want to give every one of them credit. These are tough, smart guys. They know there was no collusion, it turned out, with Russia. There was collusion, but it was with Hillary Clinton, the DNC. I mean, why didn't, as an example, the FBI take the DNC server? They didn't take it.
Those are all good questions.
They know where it is. I mean, there's so many questions. But one thing I'll say, these Republican folks, I think they're becoming folk heroes. These are great, great people, and they want to get to the bottom of it. And,
but Mr. President, the people in your administration, Rod Rosenstein, will not show up on Capitol Hill to
I was surprised
Congress...
at that. Actually, I was surprised at that. I would think he would. He mentioned certain things to me that, are very positive about that event, and I would imagine that you'd want to put that down. And frankly, whether you were under oath or not shouldn't matter.
Right.
But he mentioned things to me that I would think would be fine for him to testify. And so, when Congress calls. So I'm a little surprised that Rod wouldn't do it, have a good relationship with Rod, because we work on a lot of other things.
I heard you're bonded by one thing, your distrust of Andy McCabe, and you believe,
Andy
is that
McCabe's
true?
a bad guy, and Comey is a bad guy. Don't forget, Comey's a very bad guy. This country got very lucky when I fired him. And as you know, Rod wrote a big memo about how horrible, you read that memo, how horrible Comey is, and he was a horrible guy. And he lied and he leaked. He lied before Congress, but he was leaking all over the place, not only through his professor, his professor friend who took his stuff and leaked whatever he wanted to do. Comey was a bad guy, but McCabe, very bad, but he worked for Comey. Remember one thing about McCabe. His wife was running for office, and he got $750,000 from Hillary Clinton's, essentially, PAC. It was run by Terry McAuliffe, who is absolutely Hillary Clinton's best friend, and Bill Clinton. They gave him $750,000 for his wife. Nobody even knows if she spent the money. She might not have spent the money. And this was at the time that she was being investigated by McCabe. So McCabe is investigating Hillary Clinton, and her PAC, essentially, run by her best friend, is paying McCabe $750,000. To me, that's a big deal. Nobody ever mentions it. It's really, look, we've got a hornet's nest. I think I've done a great service to this country because I've exposed so much. When you look at the emails between the two lovers, Strzok and Lisa Page, and you say the insurance policy, where they're so wanting to win against Trump, but then in a moment of silence, they said, well, if that doesn't work out, we have an insurance policy. Well, the insurance policy is what has gone on for the last fairly long period of time. There was tremendous corruption, and I'll tell you what, these people want to get to the bottom of it, and I don't think people like Devin Nunes, he should get, if this all turns out like everyone thinks it will, Devin Nunes should get the Medal of Honor. He is really, what he's gone through and his bravery, he should get a very important medal. Maybe we'll call it the Medal of Freedom because we actually give them. They're high awards for civilians, and he's done amazing. And, guys like Meadows and Jim Jordan, all of these people, what they go through, and they're right, and they can't understand why they're being stymied at so many different levels. But now it's coming out, and it's really sad. I did a great service for this country when I fired Comey. He was a bad guy with bad intentions, and you look at the way he handled. And the one thing, just to finish up in that, You know, the Democrats hated Comey more than any human being. He actually did Hillary Clinton a big favor because she should be in jail, but they should have taken her right off the campaign. So he did her a big favor. But the Democrats hated Comey, hated him. And I said the one thing is, when I fired him, I said I was going to get bipartisan support. And you look at Schumer and all those people, they put out horrible statements about Comey. He should be fired. Right. He's a disgrace. The minute he was fired, they came out and they said he was a wonderful man. I said, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. You take a look at what they said the day after he was fired. It was like from a different planet. So, you know, look, they're politicians. What can I tell you?
I'm glad you brought up firings because your wife recently had an interview and she said there are people in the White House that she doesn't trust, people you don't trust. You have to watch your back. Is that true, A? And B, if that's the case, why are they still in the administration?
Well, I think it was more true, but you have to understand, I was in Washington probably 17 times in my life. I came to Washington on the 18th time, and I said, darling, can you believe it? I'm president. I didn't know people in Washington, and now I know everybody. I know some that I wish I didn't know, but I know a lot of people. And I think now we're really, you look, Nikki Haley, as an example, did a great job. Really great job, but she's going to be replaced by somebody that's fantastic. I know, and we have 5 people. We really have 7, but
can you tell us the 5? Can you tell us the 5 names?
I can only tell you that they're really outstanding. I mean, they're top of the line, and we have great people right now working. Are there some that I'm not in love with? Yes. And we'll weed them out slowly but surely. But when you look at what we did with Mexico, with Canada, with South Korea, you look at what we did with North Korea, where that was going into a war. And now, as you know, the relationship is good. Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State, there's one. He's been fantastic. That was a change, and he's been fantastic. But he's a star. But he just got back from North Korea. So you look at what we've done. That was going to be a war, and now we have actually a good relationship. No missiles, no testing, nuclear testing, no nothing. So, you know, we've covered a lot. I say, and I say it often, that we've done more in less than 2 years than any president in the history of our country. Tax cuts, regulation cuts, all of the things we've done. Judges, by the way, I have 2 Supreme Court judges already, and Justice Kavanaugh will be fantastic. But you top that with, you take a look at who we have, Justice Gorsuch, Justice Kavanaugh, many other judges. So we've done more, I think, than anybody, and I don't even think it's close.
Mr. President, I know one thing has you concerned. Jamal Khashoggi, a Saudi working for the Washington Post, has disappeared in the Turkish embassy. They have video going in and not going out, and there's rumors that he's dead. I heard that the Washington Post reporting that you're extremely frustrated with the lack of answers. We know that Jared Kushner, your son-in-law, is very tight with the Crown Prince, and the Crown Prince calls the shots in Saudi Arabia. You're tight with him, too. What's it going to take to get some answers?
Well, we're looking at it very, very seriously. I don't like it at all. Now, you know, you don't have American citizens, but that in this case doesn't matter. I don't like it. I don't like it with respect to reporters. It's a terrible, terrible precedent. We can't let it happen. And we're being very tough, and we have investigators over there, and we're working with Turkey, and frankly, we're working with Saudi Arabia. We want to find out what happened. He went in, and it doesn't look like he came out. It certainly doesn't look like he's around.
What's at stake? What's at stake with U.S.-Saudi relations, sir?
I would say they're excellent. I've told them they've got to pay for their military. You know, Saudi Arabia is a very rich country. And for years and years, there would be no Saudi Arabia if there wasn't a United States, because we protected them. And we don't get paid for this protection. We should be paid. We spend billions and billions of dollars a year protecting Saudi Arabia. And I've told the king, King Salman, I said, King, sorry, you got to pay. Right. And I've said that loud and clear, and they're going to pay.
But you can't be killing America. You can't be killing Washington Post journalists. So is everything in jeopardy now, sir? Is that in jeopardy now, our good relations with Saudi Arabia?
I have to find out what happened. I mean, I do have to find out, and we're probably getting closer than you might think, but I have to find out what happened.
The Washington Post is reporting this morning that the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, ordered the operation to lure him back to Saudi Arabia from Virginia and then detain him, according to the U.S. intel intercepts of Saudi officials discussing the plan.
Okay.
That sounds like it goes right to the top, Mr. President.
Well, it would be a very sad thing, and we will probably know in the very short future. We have some incredible people and incredible talent working on it. We don't like it. I don't like it. No good.
Mr. President, let me ask you about the midterms, because historically, are you worried about historically people staying home for the midterms? And which states do you think that you can win?
Well, I've got so many people saying, I wish you were running. I'd be out there voting. And, you know, I'm not going to do it now because you're not running. I said, do me a favor. Do it. Just go out and vote. That's what I'm telling my rallies. Go out and vote. Because historically, whoever wins the presidency, as you know better than anybody, they don't do well in midterms. I think this is different. The economy is the best it's ever been, ever. I mean, this is the strongest economy we've ever had. And we talked about jobs before. It's the best. And I really think people are going to go out. Plus, I really think that Justice Kavanaugh, the way he was treated so horribly, this is a fine man, what they did to him and his family, the Democrats, I don't think people are going to forget that so quickly. And we're talking about really a very short period of time before the midterms. I think we're going to do very well. I can tell you there are Senate races that we weren't even going to contest that we're actually leading in. I could mention names. I won't. Maybe I'll mention one or two. Heidi was going to be, you know, win. And
North Dakota.
We have a man, North Dakota. We have a man who is fantastic, and we asked him to run the most popular. He's just a great, great person.
Kevin Kramer.
Kevin is just a great person. He's running, and he's up like 13 points.
Right.
Now, people have to still get out and vote. You have to get out and vote. But I'll tell you what, and on many of the Senate races that we didn't think we had a chance, we're going to at least do very well, and in many cases, I think we're going to win.
Okay.
The other thing is with the House, we have many races that people are going to call wrong. With that being said, what's going to happen, I don't know, but I really think the Republicans are very energized, much more so now than 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Well, Mr. President, there's a new Quinnipiac poll that came out this morning, and what had been a tight race down in Texas between Cruz and O'Rourke, Cruz has opened it up. He is now at 54%. Mr. O'Rourke is at 45. He's ahead by 9. And you're right. I think that your base right now, if last night's rally were any indication, they're energized. But the big question, sir, is how do you keep that energy up? How do you keep the Republicans and the right-leaning independents, the energy up so they will vote for your side?
Well, I really think they have it naturally. I really do. And I've always felt that even before Justice Kavanaugh, if you look at over the last month or 2 months, I didn't believe the polls because I think they have tremendous energy. I think the Republicans have tremendous energy. They want to keep their 401ks really good. You know, they're up 40, 50% in 401ks. They've never had it. People are coming up to me saying, my wife is saying I'm a great investor. Thank you very much, right? You know, they want to keep that.
Yesterday was not a good day for investors.
Well, if the Democrats, well, that's fine. You know, the Federal Reserve is getting a little bit too cute. That's all. That's ridiculous what they're doing. But the Democrats, you look at what they would do to it. They would knock it down. Instead of being up 50%, you'd be down 50%. When I took over this economy was ready to crash. We were at 1% GDP. Now we're at 4.2%. It was ready to crash. It was the worst. If you look from the Great Depression, it was the worst recovery in the history of our country. And Obama threw tremendous money at it. Don't forget, Obama was playing with zero money, so he was playing with funny money. It was very easy. I'm paying interest at a high rate because of our Fed. And I'd like our Fed not to be so aggressive because I think they're making a big mistake. But I'm playing with money that we pay interest. Now, that is good for people that have money in the bank and they're now able to get interest on their money for the first time in a long time. And it's good in certain ways, but they're making a mistake. They're being too aggressive.
Right. I want to talk about China if we can. We were struck when one of our battleships came within 45 yards of a Chinese ship, and we had to back out. They are extremely disturbed about your aggressive stance when it comes to trade and their stealing of intellectual property from our people. We're coming to loggerheads with that fellow superpower. Where is that heading? And is this all hands on deck with the Secretary of Defense along with the Treasury on the same page to stop them as they look to expand around the globe?
Well, sure, but you stop them economically. Look, China was taking out $500 billion a year. $500 billion, Brian, a year. I said it's not going to happen any longer. And I didn't go initially because they have helped us, and I believe they're continuing to help us with North Korea, because 93% of the stuff goes through China to get into North Korea, through their border. China's been quite good. They could be better, I must say, but they've been quite good with respect to North Korea and what we're doing in North Korea, which is amazing, by the way, according to everybody. So with China, I said, you can't do this. You cannot continue to take this money out. This should have been taken care of by President Obama, President Bush. It should have been taken care of by many other presidents. They let China get out of control, and we are not going to pay $500 billion a year to China and rebuild China. We have helped rebuild China more than any other factor. We have helped rebuild it. I said, it's over. So they're not happy. They can't be happy about it. But the same thing happened with the European Union. I told them the same thing. They don't take our product, and yet they send their Mercedes-Benzes and their BMWs in to see us. It's not going to happen. But with China, because that's the big one, that's the real big one. Yep. They're taking out $500 billion. And now I put $250 billion worth of taxes or tariffs on China. And it's had a big impact.
But what's
if
next?
If you look at their economy now, it's a whole different ballgame. Their economy has gone down very substantially. Yep. And I have a lot more to do if I want to do it. I don't want to do it, but they have to come to the table. I will tell you this, and I've said it, actually, I said it last night to Shannon. I will tell you that they want to negotiate. They want to negotiate badly. But I told them, you're not ready yet. You're not ready yet. They lived too well for too long, and frankly, I guess they think that the Americans are stupid people. Americans are not stupid people. We were led badly when it came to trade. And that includes with Mexico, which we've solved. It includes with Canada. It includes with everybody. And one by one, we're knocking them off. And wait till you see what happens. And that's one of the reasons we have such potential in our country, because we were doing this with these horrible trade deals, and frankly with horrible military deals where we protect wealthy countries like Japan and Saudi Arabia and South Korea, and they don't pay us. It's ridiculous. I mean, we're protecting the world and they don't pay us.
Right. Mr. President,
and when that changes, wait till you see what happens with our country. It's a different world.